There's a real sense in which Delhi voters, as this poll suggests, are moving towards the BJP, but other contestants are there. But are they really there? Because our poll shows not just that if you go by how communities will vote, if you even go by how the voter by age will vote, all the age categories suggest that BJP is the favorite, Congress third, AAP second. If you put the two categories together, voting by community with voting by age, do you get the feeling that there's a very strong Modi influence behind the BJP's performance in these polls?
It's a very acute question. I'll just answer that. But before that, I'll hazard a guess, being a non-sociologist, etc. But I would say the AAP voters are decamping to BJP. The Congress voters are going to AAP, or have been going to AAP. Now I believe they're also on the way back, because it is too radical for Congress voters to go to BJP. So there is this shift going on, that the AAP voters go to BJP, the Congress voters go to AAP, and maybe they're coming back. But that's the kind of shift.
In which case, very quickly, in which case, is AAP losing more to BJP than it's gaining from Congress, which is why AAP itself is also sliding from its position in December last year?
I think that the slide of Congress voters to AAP has somewhat subsided. And therefore, it's not as if that landslide that was happening is not happening.
So AAP is bleeding rather than gaining overall?
AAP is bleeding. But I would just you know, you said,
come to that point, to my question about Modi.
About Modi. You know, I feel, and I'm going to stick my neck out, who is actually going to determine which way Delhi votes, or where the seats go, or where the vote percentage goes? Who's going to determine this? You know what? I feel that the young voter in the JJ cluster, that if that young voter is voting Modi, when the rest of the family is voting either Congress or it is voting AAP, especially, and this JJ cluster includes the 5 lakh Muslim voters you have. So is there a peeling off, not amongst the Muslim youth, but in the other youth? Is it peeling off and going to Modi? If it is, then the vote percentage of BJP is definitely going to be higher.
What Nalini is positing is something that conventional opinion has actually resisted accepting. The conventional opinion is that the 49 days of Aam Aadmi government meant that the middle class support that Aam Aadmi had has peeled away. They're disenchanted, they're disillusioned, they're irritated by Santosh Bharti's behavior, the dharna, or the collapse of the government. But because of the subsidies given in terms of electricity, in terms of water, right? Because of the impact on corruption that may be more talked about than actual, the Jhuggi Jhompri support, as Nalini phrased it, remains loyal and may have grown. Now, would you accept that the opposite could be happening? Because that's what she's positing, that the opposite may happen rather than the received wisdom.
It may, but I don't think there's a lot of time left for elections, and Indian voters are notoriously labile. They don't want to vote for Congress. That is, Delhi voters at least do not want to vote for Congress. They have seen enough of it. And I can understand that feeling. It could be sheer boredom. And I cannot blame voters for that.
To what extent then are Delhi voters put off Congress because there isn't an appealing figure at the head of the Congress party at the moment? Sheila Dikshit was there for 15 years. Auntie Sheila, as many consider her, attracted a lot of support and loyalty. She's now gone. Arvinder Singh Lavli simply doesn't have the same appeal. Kejriwal and Harshvardhan, on the other hand, are attractive known entities. So is the absence of a noble, likable figure at the head of Congress costing Congress this time around?
Difficult to say. I think it wouldn't have made much of a difference, frankly speaking, even if Sheila has stayed back.
Would you agree with that? That the absence of a Sheila Dikshit type figure at the head of Congress is costing Congress?
I don't know. I mean, you're asking me the whys of election.
Because you're a psephologist who reads figures and interprets them for us.
Psephology deals with whats of election. Whys can come only after a post-poll detailed survey. But Karan, allow me to make 2 points. One,
will you not answer my question before you make these points?
Whether Sheila Dikshit would have made a difference or not, it's a counterfactual.
Not Sheila. The absence of a Sheila Dikshit-like figure to compare with Harshvardhan, to compare with Arvind Kejriwal. There is no known face heading Congress in Delhi. There is a known face heading Aam Aadmi. There is a known entity heading BJP. Is that vacuum costing Congress?
But that is true of BJP as well. BJP is also leading the election in every state with the prime ministerial candidate.
But in Delhi, they've got
Harshvardhan.
They've got Harshvardhan in Delhi, who's a known entity.
No, I will not discount the fact that a charismatic leader at the head of a campaign helps in a state. But how much is difficult to say.
But Karan, I'm going to actually jump in here to say that you're saying that he's saying that BJP has Harshvardhan. Now, Harshvardhan is a BJP state president, changed midstream just before the other election, the assembly election. Then he is also the if he's the chief of the election committee, selecting the candidates, and he is a candidate. So I'm asking one question to the BJP: where is your war room? Who is actually leading this charge? Because if
but that absence of a war room is not costing them in terms of what the poll shows as support.
That's what is extremely interesting, which is what, therefore, the opinion polls. Is there something which really builds up?
All
and
right.
will that convert
There's a
into
very
votes?
interesting paradox you're pointing towards. You're suggesting that by fielding Harshvardhan and using him in the way they are, the BJP has diminished their war room, and as a result of diminishing their war room, they lack a strategic heart, and yet the polls suggest that they are right at the very top in terms of support from all the different communities.
May I just add this to this? That actually what's happening is that the BJP's poll campaign is being managed by the RSS.
Well,
and they are extremely
that we don't
active.
have an answer to. That may be your opinion, and I'll accept it for now.